The Colosseum has to be one of the most recognizable structures in Rome. Roughly 4 million visitors come to the Colosseum each year, making it one of the most popular tourist attractions in the world. And yet, for around 1,000 years, the gigantic structure was left to rot. Plundered for its valuable materials and in a state of disrepair, it had returned to nature to such an extent that in 1873, British naturalist Richard Deacon wrote a book entitled Flora of the Colosseum. Thanks to efforts to preserve it in the 20th century, we can now imagine the former glory of the Flavian Amphitheater as it was once known. In this video, we will take a look at what makes this extraordinary building truly unique. Number 1. Its complex design. The Colosseum is a vast and complex building, which is all the more impressive when you consider it was built nearly 2,000 years ago. Instead of being round, the Colosseum was constructed as an oval to allow a better view from each seat, and given that it probably sat more than 50,000 people, this is no small feat. But although each seat had a great view, the Colosseum still afforded the wealthier citizens the better seats. The elite sat closest to the arena, with the lower classes sitting higher up and further back. The amazing design allowed the thousands of spectators to enter and leave the arena quickly, with 80 entrances and exits. The corridors were designed to separate the different classes from the moment they entered the theater. Each spectator would have been issued a ticket showing which numbered gate they should go through. However, unlike today, most events were free and paid for by the emperor, who even occasionally gifted free food to the spectators. In addition to the elaborate seating, the Colosseum had a large underground area that housed the gladiators and animals before they entered the arena. A series of lifts and trapdoors allowed lions and fighters to make dramatic and unexpected entrances. This area was added a few years after the theater was completed and gradually grew more complex to ensure the shows continued to surprise and thrill the audience. Number 2. It's a permanent above-ground structure. Most amphitheaters were built from wood as temporary structures or dug into hillsides for added support. But the Colosseum was created as a permanent freestanding structure of stone and concrete. Experts claim that it was the liberal use of concrete that helped the Colosseum stay standing for nearly 2,000 years. The Colosseum was built on a wetland area with poor soil. To compensate for the unstable ground, the builders needed to dig a deep base and create a solid concrete foundation to stabilize the structure. Although cement has been in use since around 7000 BCE, the Romans invented Roman concrete, the strongest in the world until the 19th century. Arches were used for equal weight distribution, and as concrete acts better in compression, it lent itself to the Roman arches, columns, and domes. The Colosseum was the most complex permanent amphitheater in the ancient world, and a complicated system of barrel vaults and groin vaults still supports it. The structural framework was constructed using different materials, including travertine stone, volcanic tufa, and concrete. Travertine was used for its durability, attractive qualities, and ease with which it can be shaped into blocks. It was quarried in Tivoli and is still a popular building material today. Tufa is easy to shape but resistant to weathering, which has helped the Colosseum remain standing. The Colosseum was built on the site of a huge artificial lake that was once the centerpiece of Nero's palace. Known for his cruelty, Nero had seized land from ordinary citizens to build his Golden Palace, which did not help his popularity. After Vespasian took power in 69 CE, he undoubtedly wanted to distance himself from the unpopular ruler. His decision to create the Flavian Amphitheater, now known as the Colosseum, was most likely political as well as practical, as the new Emperor Vespasian had risen from relatively humble beginnings, so replacing Nero's private lake with a public building was clearly symbolic. Number 3. It is the largest amphitheater in the world. Standing 4 stories high and covering an area of 5 acres, the Colosseum was the largest of its kind when it was constructed. It measures 187 meters long, 157 meters wide, and 48 meters high, making it as tall as a modern 12-story building. At the time it was built, it eclipsed the Valerian Amphitheater, which had been the largest in the ancient world. Some speculate that the amphitheater in Pizzoli, which Emperor Vespasian also commissioned, was larger than the Colosseum. However, as the upper part of the Pizzoli has been all but destroyed, the Colosseum remains the largest standing amphitheater in the world and is recorded as such in the current Guinness Book of World Records. Some believe that the Colosseum was nicknamed thus due to its colossal size, but it was more likely to have been because of its proximity to the Colossus of Nero. This monument was a colossal bronze statue that Nero had commissioned of himself depicted as the sun god. The statue was moved to its position next to the theater by Emperor Hadrian in 117 CE and was probably destroyed during the sack of Rome in 410, or by one of the earthquakes during the 5th century. By 1000 CE, the Flavian Amphitheater was believed to have been renamed the Colosseum. Number 4. It is held together by gravity. The Colosseum is covered in noticeable holes resembling bullet or cannon holes. However, these holes were not made by attackers but by looters, and they previously contained iron clamps that held the stone structure together. Over the years, many of the materials used to build the Colosseum were repurposed. The costly marble that used to clad the Colosseum was used for other buildings during the Renaissance, most notably for the facade of St. Peter's Basilica, but it is believed that it may have been plundered for private use too. Other decorative materials were also taken, and stone was quarried from the structure for around 1,000 years. Luckily, the Romans had used Roman concrete, which, unlike modern concrete, remains chemically active for centuries after it hardens due to the volcanic material used as an aggregate. This aggregate meant the Roman concrete continued to set, becoming stronger over time. The ongoing chemical reaction reinforced small cracks and prevented them from irreversibly damaging the structure. However, the outer wall, comprised of over 100,000 cubic meters of travertine bricks, was constructed without using any famous Roman concrete. Instead, 300 tons of iron clamps were used to hold the blocks together. These clamps were looted at some point during the 6th century, leaving the outer wall more susceptible to damage. In 1349, an earthquake caused part of this outer wall to collapse, but thanks to the solid base and the sheer weight of the building, the parts that remain standing are still structurally sound. Number 5. It had a retractable roof. While other amphitheaters sported retractable awnings, providing one for the vast Colosseum was a whole different ballgame. The awning was called the velarium and was a fabric cover that could provide both shade from the sun and shelter from the rain. However, the velarium was mainly used as a sunshade and was retracted during high winds or heavy rain to prevent the fabric from getting damaged. The cover was only designed to protect the spectators while leaving the action open to the elements and spotlit by the sun. The velarium comprised several pieces of tapered fabric supported by 240 wooden masts, hoisted up from the top tier of the Colosseum. A complex system of rope pulleys acted as rigging, which held the fabric up. The whole thing sloped downward toward the central hole. The fabric was made of the same material as galley sails, from which the word velarium was derived. Because of the obvious link, the amphitheater employed experienced sailors to operate the awning, and a detachment from the Misenum naval fleet had barracks near the Colosseum. The sailors were stationed high up on the top tier of the amphitheater and could erect or retract the velarium by manipulating the complex network of ropes. The velarium was an amazing triumph in engineering and a practical and functional piece of kit. The fact that it also allowed the action in the area to be illuminated in theatrical contrast to the shaded spectators added to the drama of the intense and bloody spectacle. Number 6. It also staged nautical battles. Of all the staged battles that took place at the Colosseum, the most incredible and lesser known has to have been the Naumachia, or fake naval battles. The Colosseum could be filled with water to create a large pool where the nautical fights could be staged. Ships, crewed by enslaved people or prisoners and fitted with weapons such as catapults and grappling hooks, recreated well-known historical battles. They were highly choreographed, but just as deadly as one of the more conventional fights. Staged nautical battles were not a new concept, and the first recorded Naumachia had been organized by Julius Caesar in 45 BCE and staged on an artificial lake near the Campus Martius in Rome. The Colosseum was completed in 80 CE by Emperor Vespasian's son Titus, and the first nautical battle was held the same year to mark the opening of the Flavian Amphitheater. The massive skirmish involved over 3,000 men and a large number of ships. It was so popular they continued to stage Naumachia over the years, with the last recorded staged naval battle at the Colosseum in 107 CE. They were usually shown at midday, during an interval in a day of gladiatorial games. Most commonly, they were reenactments of famous sea battles, and elaborate sets, such as ports, islands, and cities, were created to lend authenticity to the event. While we do not know how they managed to flood the massive arena or how they could even empty it to continue the games, historical evidence comes in the form of several accounts of this incredible spectacle. A well-known passage regarding the inaugural nautical battle comes from Cassius Dio's Roman History. However, he did not cite his source and wrote his book over a century after the event. He describes, "Titus suddenly filled the same theater with water and brought in horses and bulls and some other domesticated animals that had been taught to behave in the liquid element just as on land. He also brought in people on ships who engaged in a sea fight there, impersonating the Corcyraeans and Corinthians." This spectacle may have been a recreation of the Battle of Saboda, which took place in 433 BCE. Other Romans provided eyewitness accounts for these battles, with the poet Martial claiming that the amphitheater could change from dry land to sea very quickly. He also details aquatic dramatizations, such as a reenactment of the mythical character Hero swimming to Leander under the cover of darkness. Roman historian Suetonius also stated that Naumachie took place at the Colosseum. Some historians doubt that such aquatic performances could have been staged at the Flavian Amphitheater, as no evidence suggests how they accomplished it. However, most agree that they may have taken place before the theater was extended to include the underground preparation area called the Hypogeum, and that all evidence of the spectacle's achievement was removed. How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about Roman history, check out our book, Ancient Rome, A Captivating Introduction to the Roman Republic, the Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, and the Byzantine Empire. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. If you found the video captivating, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.